Today's show is brought to you by...
This program is made possible by the checkbook of Mr. Todd Burns and by contributions to our newly launched Patreon by viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and join our community. Thank you.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hello and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing, and today I am joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing today?
Good. Enjoying the music here.
Good to be back.
I liked your bouncing. We both have core bouncing balls today because
we're both on Josh's balls today.
We are. You know, after the vasectomy, I did have some swelling. I
had to adjust my thing and put it further up. Yeah.
He's talking about the camera for audio only listeners. That almost sounded.
Oh yeah, that would sound bad if you were just audio only.
That almost was a euphemism. That was pretty close, man. Yeah, we were joking about it before. Everybody hates the exercise ball. I get
it's
it.
So stupid that you sit on a ball, dude.
There's this episode of The Office where Dwight promised that I would improve my core and it would enhance my sets. And
okay, well that makes sense. I mean, most things on The Office are legit, so yeah.
And you know what? It makes the day more enjoyable because I do the bouncing all day, and that's more fun than just sitting at a desk with bad posture. Now I'm just bouncing on a ball with bad posture, but it's, it is what it is. But I am very happy you guys are back. You flew. What was the total length of your trip? Like 10 days, 11 days? What was it?
Yeah, about 10 days. Yeah.
10 days, yeah.
Y'all, I asked Todd before y'all left, take photos. I wanna steal your photos. I'm gonna post them on Instagram. Be great. Todd sent me like the meanest of photos of like, hey, we're enjoying ourselves. You're not here. So I had to steal James' photos that were nice of what was going on around there. Not just intoxicated Todd. There's a lot of those photos I'd love to go over, but we won't waste the whole episode on that. Let's start off though with a quick recap. You were in Germany for the Brau Bevial. I think that's how the word's pronounced again. I don't remember exactly. But
I don't think I've never heard anybody even say the second word. Everybody just calls it the Brau.
Why do they even have it on all their marketing material?
I have no idea. Have you ever heard anybody refer to it? Is that James?
No. Yeah. I think when they do the announcements, they say it so fast that.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Brau Bevial. But anyway, you were there at the Brau, so just give me. I'll kick it to Todd first. A quick recap, remind listeners what the Brau is, why you were there, and kind of a recap of the highlights of this year's Brau in Nuremberg, Germany.
Okay, so the Brau means brewery in Deutsch, and so it's everything that has to do with brewing, brewery. Of course, we're the draft side, so we're there with CM Becker, CMB Schonkenlagen in their booth, and so we've got people coming by all day, and we tell them about our great products, and then we also walk around and see other products and see people we've known for years, and it's just a good time. One thing I've definitely noticed this year is there was a lot more that had to do with home brewing. So home brewing's never been a very big deal in Germany in particular, but really in Europe generally. It's just there's never been a lot of home brewers. I'm starting to really see that grow now. I think that's going to be a big market in the future. So that's interesting.
So Keg Connection, German. Are you talking with the people at CMB Schonkenlagen to open up a draft beer? And
I've mentioned it, but yeah, it hadn't been a terrible, huge amount of excitement about it. Yeah.
I do. it wouldn't be a fun episode for me if I didn't throw a low blow at some point. I do want to mention, James, you looked fantastic in your suit. You looked wonderful. Todd, you weren't wearing your suit, man. What happened? That's weird. You weren't.
Something was wrong with it. It shrunk.
I'm only laughing because I think I had messaged you at some point. I said, I am actually grateful I didn't go because I didn't have a suit that fit me right now. I'm at my heaviest I've been in a while. I was like, I wouldn't have been able to wear my suit. And you were like, believe it or not, I can't fit into my suit right now. I can't wear it. But you look.
So you go to put your suit on and you've gained some weight and you're like, oh man, this is going to be a little uncomfortable at times, having to put it on so tight. It wasn't like that at all. It was like, this is not going on.
Yeah, you thought you had a growth spurt. You're 52 years old. You're like, did I have a growth spurt? I think I got taller.
I did have a growth spurt, but it was all in the belly region.
Yeah, but at least I just say, James, you looked really good in your suit, man.
Thank you.
Looked real sharp. I know that it's always funny when we do shows that we dress up in suits. Like CBC is one of them, right? Which I don't know if this year or next year's in San Antonio, if we're doing the nicer dressed route or what we're going to do, because we're kind of integrating into a booth with another company as well. So I know we haven't hashed out those details, but it's always just so funny to clean up when that's not us. I mean,
totally.
I like the compliments that my mom will message me when I post photos of myself in a suit, like, oh, you're so handsome, mijo, or whatever.
No.
Like, it was very nice.
The shows here aren't generally very dress up. I mean, the craft brewers show, it's all a bunch of guys with long beards and t-shirts on, right? And the homebrew show, I'm sure a lot of our listeners have been to that. It's pretty damn casual. You wear very casual clothes in the booth. In Germany, people dress up. Taprite they were not wearing ties this time. And I was like, whoa, you guys are really casual with just sport coats and shirts on, but we were kind of joking around. But it is interesting to see how much more they dress up in Europe than they do here for trade shows.
They do. And I know it's very cliche and easy to be like self-deprecating, like, oh, Americans. But Europeans are snazzy people, man.
Yeah, you can always spot the Italians walking by.
Man. They're such handsome men.
Best fitting suits. And
do you remember last year? I didn't approach him because I knew I'd weird him out. But it was an Italian guy, and he had that grappler's ear. It was all.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember? Because I was like, James, I got to go meet that guy. We're gonna be best friends. He's like best shape ever. Had like a fitted, tailored suit that was obviously a couple $1,000s, if not more. I'm in my. Well, actually, last year I had a wool suit. Todd gave me crap because one suit I've had that I didn't wear was just polyester, and he was like, "Oh, hey, I'm blinded by the shininess of your suit." And so I ended up dropping the money. But even then, I didn't drop a lot. Not like these Europeans do. But now I'm digressing, and just my weird obsession with handsome Europeans is coming out. So anyway, moving on. I am glad y'all are back. Vienna, after the Brau, y'all took a train, it looked like, over to Austria and into Vienna. I want to hear about that. James, you posted a photo of a very delicious-looking Vienna lager from a sports bar, I think it was the name of it. Like it said, whatever sports bar. How was the beer in Vienna? Was it legit?
Oh yeah, it was extremely, extremely delicious, and it was so reasonable. Everywhere we went, you could get. I know we went into a little. What was the name of that store, Todd? That Spar?
Yeah, some Spar. Yeah, I think
that's right. Or Spar. Anyway, they had beers, really good beers for less than €1 a piece, and these were big cans of beer. I was impressed. Everywhere we went, I don't think we ever had.
The bars were reasonable too. It's amazing. You go to a bar and it's $2.50, $3 for a beer, and you go here and it's obviously a lot more. Oh, the one thing that was interesting, James, I thought you'd bring it up when he asked you about the Vienna lager.
Yeah,
they don't really have Vienna lager in Vienna. We found one.
Wait, what?
But it was not easy.
Explain. Wait, you gotta explain yourself because I didn't catch on. Like, what do you mean?
So, go ahead, James.
Well, oddly enough, all we could find, just everybody over there likes to drink either Marzens or Pils. And that one, what was the name of that beer, Todd, that was everywhere? Started with a G?
Glossa?
Yeah, that was a Marzen.
Yeah, it was a Marzen, and there's a lot of Marzens. More Marzens than anything. But Vienna lagers, no. We searched high and low for a Vienna, and we found one Vienna lager. We found a lot more IPAs than we did Vienna lagers in Vienna.
I did see that photo from you, James. You were like, I'm in Vienna, and look what this bar's offering. It was like all double IPAs and the normal IPAs and like imperial IPAs.
And those were American, but there were also a lot of European IPA, American style, but European brewed IPAs around.
How interesting.
Yeah, and they were, there's some regions, and I didn't think this was true, but Todd and I talked to an individual, and they're like, no, the Rheinheitsgebot is a real thing, and you can't brew. Or what was that one guy was talking about?
Oh, he said they brewed a beer. They brewed a beer, and they had to pull it off the market and take it somewhere else. And then when they brewed it the next time, they couldn't brew it in Austria, so they brewed it in Belgium, and then imported it in. And you can import beers that don't follow the rule. You can't brew them there, or you have to not call them beer. You have to call them something else. The way they explain.
Wait,
it. We could be totally wrong.
Even in Austria.
In Austria, yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
There's regions where they follow that law. It's a purity law.
The Germans still have a heavy influence, apparently, over Austria.
So, a lot more than I realized. I just thought it was a pride thing, but no, there's a real law.
Interesting. And I
have mixed feelings. I mean, to me, beer is. I mean, one of the great things about beer is trying new things, and the Belgians have done that, and they have all kinds of stuff in their beer, and I really enjoy that. But it is interesting to see when they do have that law, how specific the beers are and how bright, and they're nice beers, but they're not. There's not a lot of variety. It's not really exciting.
Right.
That's real. That just kind of blows my mind. Like you think the style, because I love Vienna lagers. Like James, when's the last time you brewed one? You brewed one. Was it?
It was last year.
It was last year. Yeah, it was.
We need to brew another one, a big batch.
It was incredible, and maybe I'm not so jealous of you guys anymore. If you went all the way to Vienna and couldn't find it, was the Vienna lager you found at least good? Was it?
Oh,
it was good, and they brew. Vienna lager was super popular at one time, and I think all these breweries all over the world brewed Vienna lagers, and they're famous for those, like in Mexico and the United States. Yeah. But they don't brew them in Vienna. They're just not a popular style anymore.
Interesting.
No, but I've never seen so many Marzens in my whole life in one place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't complain. I mean, I love Marzen's a style.
Oh, they were good.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can only imagine. So, yeah, I'm back to being jealous. Okay. The photos that you posted, James, were beautiful. Vienna looks incredible. How did it compare to Prague last year in regards to the whole experience? I mean, don't take into account that I wasn't there with you this year. That can't be a plus.
I think Todd feels the same way. I loved Vienna. It was a beautiful city, but I'm a little more partial to Prague, I think.
It's just it's very formal looking. Prague is so old and ancient, and whereas Vienna, it was the seat of power in Europe for like 600 years. So it's a very, I don't know if formal is the right word, but everything looks very formal, The buildings are all kind of the same style, and it's different. I really liked it, but I don't know. Where are we going next, James? We made a decision. Budapest, right?
Budapest.
Oh, Budapest. Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Budapest.
We met several people that said Budapest was even better than Prague.
No, shut up.
That's a bold statement. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna find out. I'm gonna start a GoFundMe to get me on that trip. Because Prague was Prague made me demand my wife get a passport because I want to take her there for like maybe.
Oh, she'd love y'all would have a blast.
Either our 15th wedding anniversary, which is in like 2022, or our 20th wedding anniversary, whichever one we can muster up. Because it's actually getting there. And our accommodations are going to be more expensive than what we'd be doing there because it was very affordable. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, y'all remember, but eating was very reasonable. Drinking was very reasonable.
Sure.
It could be done for pretty low price. So I've planted that seed in her head. But anyways, I am happy to have y'all back. I'm going to keep segueing so people who are watching don't get mad at me for sticking on one topic too long. Before the questions, real quick, 4 members of our Patreon. Here's the boring part where Todd tunes out. Patreon members this month are the recipe tier. It's a Northern English brown ale. It's been doing really well. We brewed that. Todd can testify that it is a delicious beer. You finally have it on tap at your house. I have it as well on tap with me and my dad. I'm doing the group shot so people can see. You took off your headphones too. You
said I had to tune out.
I hate you. I said this is when you do tune out. And then real quick, all members of our Patreon have access to our upcoming live Q&A with Jason Chalifer from Muntins. He's been a guest on the show. He's been a co-host on the show. He's taking your questions live Friday, November 29th. That's Black Friday at 1 p.m. Central. If you're a member of the Patreon, you got the newsletter release already with all the details. If you're not a member yet, consider joining. We have a ton of different tiers that offer a bunch of different perks. All of them offer access to this. So whether it's from $1 a month up to the free recipe kit per month, $50 level, everybody gets access to this, and then all the different tiers vary. So if you are interested in us producing more content like this or the live Q&As or all the stuff we're doing at homebrewhappyhour.com, go to patreon.com/homebrewhappyhour and consider joining our community. Okay, we have 2 questions for today's show. I'm going to start with question number 1, submitted by Bruce using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Bruce wrote in saying, "Hello, podcast crew. Do you guys have any opinions on liquid and gas tubing? I'm currently building out a keezer and I'm on a pretty strict budget. The cost for PVC-less tubing isn't a whole lot more than regular tubing, but it's enough to notice in the final price. Do you recommend that I start off with PVC-less tubing, or is that an upgrade I can make in the future without too much hassle? Do you recommend I use PVC-less tubing for both liquid and gas, or does it only matter where liquid will be touching? Thanks for taking my question, Bruce." Todd, PVC-free tubing, we've talked about before. We had EJ Beverages' Greg Kinney on the show many years ago, 2 or 3 years ago now, talking about the benefits of it. I mean, I'm spoiled in that I have access to it, so my tubing is PVC-free-less, but what is your opinion on building out? Is that one of those components where you're going to say, yeah, from the beginning, go ahead and do this?
Well, first and foremost, Bruce, we always have an opinion, so don't worry about that, right? No, I would say that it's very nice product. If you're really trying to save money and watch what you spend, I wouldn't say it would be the most important thing I would look at. I would probably tend to want to spend more money on the faucets or something like that. But it is very nice. I don't think you really. I don't see a strong reason at all to have it for the gas side. I think it's the most beneficial on the liquid side. Now, if you end up doing something like flow control, we end up using the same. Basically, that's the hose we do typically use with flow control. So you would get it on the liquid side. It's a great hose. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's not essential. I mean, the other hose has been used for a very, very long time, and it works very well. So
I didn't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I have it on our system again. Well, one, we were doing like product testing, and it's actually not at my dad's kegerator. It's on the kegerator that's behind me. I didn't see it as necessary when we were building out my dad's kegerator, which was just meaning assembling it and putting the tubing on. But James, at your home setup, do you use PVC-free tubing, or do you just use standard tubing?
I just have standard plain Jane on tubing.
But he doesn't even. You don't even have flow control then, right?
No.
Oh, shut up,
James. We got to get you flow control, man.
Well, I feel guilty because I have to use such long shanks. I'm running really long through the wall.
We have lots of long shanks.
I know, but they're so expensive.
I like that, James. See, James, that's why I brought this question on, because I knew James is a man of money efficiency.
Yes. Well, if we can sell it, it's a lot better than to sell it than to me take it home and put it through my wall.
Yeah, because your system's very old. I mean, you had your system in place before you even worked here, right?
Let's see. No, actually, when I came to work with you, I bought those from Keg Connection because I always wanted to do that. And then we put the mirror up and I cracked the mirror, and that's what brought on all the stickers. If they're going to Instagram, they wonder what the hell's wrong with James putting stickers all over the mirror, is to hide the crack that I did when I mounted the shanks.
Oh, that's
So,
funny.
All right.
I think
well,
we're
gonna have to fix that, James. Right,
Yeah,
Josh?
absolutely.
Oh, it's your money. Yeah. I throw your money around all the time. I'd love to throw it at James. Like,
In fact, the funny thing is when we moved the company from DeSoto to Comanche, Michael, you remember this, Todd? We were moving everything, and he was throwing away a whole bunch of them gaudy gold faucets.
Yeah.
He threw them in the trash can, and I dumpster dived for them. And they're brand new, and I'm like, why did you throw them? They're no good. They're no good. I said, Michael, they're brand new. So my brother has one on his kegerator, and I have 3 on my wall.
yes.
Okay. Cool.
That's awesome. I love just, again,
they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them.
I know. That's what I was going to say. I would have done the same thing. And it's always nice with my brother and being cheap. I appreciate
you don't throw away a Seambecker faucet.
Yeah, you don't throw away what are you wrong? Michael, I could just imagine him telling, no, James, those are no good.
And he didn't even want me to get them. I went and got them anyway.
I love it.
Total sidetracking. Did you, Todd, remember that photo in one of the offices up there in DeSoto? It was an illustration of Scrooge McDuck and his fortune, and it was just like a commentary on like being happy with money or whatever. Do you remember that? Like he had it framed. Did you end up with that, or did he take that?
No, that was his person.
Yeah.
Because that was the only thing I wanted from the office, and you kept saying like you're not going to get it, and I didn't realize because it wasn't yours to give. I was this close to stealing it, but anyway.
Well, he kept that office locked all the time. So
yeah, I find ways. PVC free. I want to get back to the question with Bruce. It has its benefits, right? We can agree on that. Like it is. EJ Beverage at their booths used to have this gimmicky, and I don't mean gimmicky in the bad way. I mean just their whole presentation was
great marketing.
Yeah, was hey, you could taste, and the tubing they decided to use to put up against their antimicrobial PVC free silver lined ultra barrier blah 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 tubing, you could tell a taste difference. Granted, when you're salesman, you find a way to accentuate the flaws or the benefits, right? Like I understand, I do that every day of my life, convincing my wife to not leave me. Like I have to accentuate the good parts of me every day. But like they, if you went to their booth, you'd go, oh, that tastes like a shower curtain, and they'd be like, that's right.
I don't remember that. I remember the smell test.
No, they had a taste. Oh, maybe it was smell, and it smelled like shower curtain. That's what it was.
Yeah. They had both in a jar, and you take it off, and it literally smelled like a shower.
That's
curtain.
what it was. You're right. It wasn't taste at all. It was smell. You're absolutely right. That you would go, oh, that smells terrible. And they're like, yeah, and that's touching your beer. And you'd be like, oh my God, I don't want that to touch my beer. I need antimicrobial, PVC free, silver ultra barrier line, blah 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 blah. Again. I would say,
I'm sorry, but how does that work with your wife? Do you like have like a homeless guy that hasn't showered in 3 or 4 weeks, and you have her smell him and then smell you, or what?
Wait, do I smell? I mean, I look homeless. That's really
no. I mean, for the comparison.
I thought I got. Oh yeah. Oh man, that was some next level taking me down. I like that. Facebook is a good thing. I let her see how if she judged me, she doesn't use Facebook much. And I am a totally different person around her than I am on Facebook. So that's the comparison. It's an introspective. I go, look what I could be. Can you imagine if I was really like this?
Right,
and she goes, oh, okay, I'm going to stick with you for another year or two. We'll see. Christmas is coming up. I know she's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh gosh, man.
Which reminds me, this is totally digressing. Next week we're going to have a holiday gift guide portion of the show going over what we recommend based on. I have a ton of questions people sourced for gift buying, so I'm looking forward to that. But back to Bruce's question, I think we all agree, Bruce, your money could be better spent elsewhere if that is your primary concern. Like you had mentioned, I agree. It's not a huge price difference. So it's not like, oh, I'm only doing a 2-faucet fridge kit, and the money I saved from not doing PVC free tubing is now going to get me a nice V10 faucet. It's not that kind of savings, but that money could be used elsewhere. It is not an upgrade that I think we would say should be a day one kind of thing if you're worried about your budget. Right, guys?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So Thank you, Bruce, for submitting the question. A perfect time to remind you again that if we take your question on the show, whether it's through the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com or you use our call in at 325-305-6107, we do give you some of Todd's money, a $25 gift card to keggconnection.com. So submit them in, and when we take them, I will email you, go back and forth, and then have some good cash to spend on the site. So our second and final question for today's show came from Nathan T. using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Nathan wrote, I hope this isn't too stupid of a question for you, but I wanted to know how often you fellas are cleaning your liquid lines. I've had one of your kegerators for 2 months now, and I'm just about to finish up the beer we have on tap. I do have another keg ready to be tapped, but I'm unsure if I need to clean my lines out to get rid of the previous beer's taste or even just for hygienic purposes. Is there a good rule of thumb I can use to remind me when I need to clean my liquid lines? Every month? Every keg? I love the show and hope you can help. Cheers. I didn't want to get too far in the last question because I was going to bring up a bunch of stuff that would have just overlapped, because this is a perfect part. This ties into the first question well. Recommended cleaning is totally different from when I clean. I'm going to let Todd. I was just saying, I'm going to let Todd lead it, because whenever we did the line cleaning the last time I was up there, he looked at me in disgust when I told him how often I clean my lines. So Todd, how often should people be cleaning their lines?
I would say the absolute minimum would be every 2 weeks.
That's so crazy.
But homebrewers tend to not do that. And maybe I don't know how bad that is, but until stuff starts really growing in your lines, most people, myself included, sometimes clean the lines when they change a keg out. So I would never ever change a keg out and not clean the lines. I've never done that. I do tend to clean my lines if I've got a keg in that lasts a long time. I tend to clean them more often. Actually, what happens with me, though, to use me as an example, the reason I clean mine a lot more often is I clean all 3 of my lines out every time a keg runs out.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm going to clean a line, I go ahead and clean all 3. I take the faucets off, throw them in a bucket, disassemble them, take warm water in the keg with Brew Clean, as hot as I can get it, actually, run it through each one of the lines a little bit at a time, fill that bucket up. It's got the faucets in there. Let it all soak for about an hour. And then when it's finished soaking for an hour, I put clean water in the keg and I run the clean water through, clean the faucets real good, put them back together, put it on, and I'm done. I mean, I know that sounds like a lot of work and a long time, but it's really just like 5 minutes of work on one end of the hour and 5 minutes of work on the other end of the hour. It really doesn't take very long to do.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, James, like you're like me in regards to you take beer home and you're taking 5-gallon batches home. And I know even with your drinking habits, which is not to say you drink a bunch. I just mean like you have beer sitting. I know you're not doing the every 2 weeks, but
no, I'm guilty of doing it between keg changes. So
see, that's what I do as well most of the time.
Yeah, me too. We're not any different than most people that have a draft system.
So, Todd, I got to ask you then, if 2 weeks is really your recommended, are you suggesting a full-blown disassembling the faucets like you're talking about between each keg every 2 weeks, or do you just mean, hey, maybe flush those lines out?
So bars do the full cleaning every 2 weeks. In most states, I think they do it every 2 weeks, but then they tend to open up the faucet and flush it out every day when they're closing. What is the you don't necessarily have to get into the nitty gritty science, but what is it you're preventing or fighting that you would suggest every 2 weeks? Is the buildup, like if you're not pouring like a bar is pouring from their open hours all the time. I don't want to make up a number, but like that faucet's probably getting opened a handful of times every hour, right? Yeah, I would argue that's probably better for it than what we do, because what we do is it sits in there and stagnates in the. I mean, I have flow control CM Becker faucets, so those are forward seals, so you don't have beer that's built up in the faucet that's between the faucet and where it goes out. So that is a lot better, and also you don't get that sticking, because the other thing you're going to get a lot with a standard faucet is it's going to stick after about a day or two. And if you leave it a week, sometimes you can't hardly get it unstuck without taking the faucet off and soaking it. So that is one nice thing about the CMB faucets and some other forward seal faucets on the market is you don't have that issue.
True. And then the biggest thing out of all of that is you got to remember most of the time when bars are serving, the beer bars are serving is ultra filtered. And the home brewer is going to have yeast in the lines. And, there's going to be some more advantages for bacteria to take root in the lines.
You know what? That's a really good point. I didn't think about that. You're right. With the home brew, it is. Yeah. I mean, I don't filter, period. Right. Like, and probably not the average. You're right.
Most home brewers don't, but the commercial breweries, they have, huge, super fine filters where they're trying to get as much of their proprietary yeast out of the beer. And then it's a big thing. There's been times when I had to change the line out because it was just nothing but yeast sediment collected in the line.
Really?
The other thing too that you got to be really careful about is if you unplug your kegerator because you're done with your beer. I mean, when you get up to regular temperatures, that line will get nasty and grow mold faster than you can believe. Within a week, it can have black mold in your line, and you do not want that. So it's real important if you're going to unplug your kegerator, and the inside of the kegerator too. You want to leave that door open. I've literally seen kegerators where people have closed the door and not used them for a month, and you open it up and it's just a black mold forest in there.
You have an employee who had that, don't you?
I wasn't going to mention any names.
He listens to this show in like 8 week he'll get to this in like sometime in February 2020. I'll throw you under the bus. Zach, that kegerator was gross. It hasn't been working in a while, and open the door. I mean, it was a science experiment that came to life. It was incredible. I remember Todd, he's been disgusted with me, and not in a, ooh, that's gross kind of way. I am so lazy that I will frequently just replace my lines versus doing the routine cleaning. Besides cost, Todd, what is it about that you don't like?
No, I mean, if you want to replace your lines every month, that's fine. I mean, I think that's a good thing. If you're buying them from keggconnection.com.
Yeah, totally. I use the promo code HHH and save 5% off my order.
That was good.
Thank you. I do when I was using a kegerator on my own before my dad and I really started brewing, that's when I was worse about cleaning. Having accountability in the form of a brew partner like my pop has helped me a lot with keeping our lines clean, our faucets clean, because for him, as it should be, I'm not just saying he's unique in this. For him, it's about presentation and getting the best out of your beer that you can. And bacteria in your lines or in your faucet are gonna ruin your experience. Period. It won't. James, I don't know if this is a thing. You can't have retroactive infection, right? It would just be affecting it if I was tasting something gross, it's very possible that it was happening at the faucet, and I could resolve that. It's not like it can seep in and ruin the batch. It's getting ruined at the pour, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
I don't know. I think it could happen both ways, don't you, Todd?
Well, it would be hard for it to go backwards into your keg, I think is what he's talking about. I don't think it would do that.
I'm saying, so? Like, if someone listening is like embarrassed and like, oh my God, I haven't cleaned my faucet forever. Maybe that's why I'm having this off taste. Is it possible that they, obviously unhook the lines so you don't have beer going everywhere, totally deep clean that faucet, hook it back up, and boom, that was what was giving them the off flavor? That's, I guess, the question I was asking.
Yeah. I mean, that needs to be cleaned as well, but there's still going to be some stuff in the line, I think, that could contribute to that. But
yeah. And it is noticeable. Maybe not that whole marketing sales, shtick of like, smell this, now smell this. Am I right? but it is bacteria is not my friend, except for the yeast that I want to be in my beer. And I still, sours, if they're your thing, cool. But you don't want a style that's not supposed to be sour because of your poorly mismanaged lines. So I don't ever let it get that bad. I was also on my home system. I mainly just have water. And so I never change my lines because I didn't find a reason to. Todd, correct me if I'm wrong. We're only discussing line maintenance in regards to dispensing anything that's not just water, right? Like it's cider, beer, soda, all of those need routine maintenance every 2 weeks or whatever you were talking about. Water?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm fine because I can't imagine there's something weird that could be going on with my water, but I'm about to move in a couple of days the kegerator over to my dad's house, so it will no longer. I don't know if I can call it my kegerator anymore. It'll be my father's second kegerator, and then we're gonna use that as an excuse to manage the lines, replace them, and his kegerator now he wants to defrost, and we find reasons like Todd was saying when one keg gets tapped. What a beautiful reason to make an excuse to say, I need to clean my lines now. And I think that that's a good rule of thumb. Like Nathan asked for, is there a good rule of thumb I can use to remind me when I need to clean my liquid lines? Every time your keg runs out, I think is the good rule of thumb, right?
Or every 2 weeks.
Yeah, whichever comes first.
But no one look, I understand the principle, Todd, of every 2 weeks, but the rule of thumb, I think.
See, I'm very fortunate in that I have 3 lines and a keg runs out about every 2 weeks, right? Because
and you're talking about your home kegerator, because I know you jerks there at y'all are not doing that on those lines there in the break room.
If I put a keg in that kegerator, I clean the lines.
That's
James
you.
will tell you.
That's you and James. I'm talking about. I've seen some things, man.
Joe has never cleaned a keg line in his life, I don't think. And I know Zach hasn't either. So yeah, that's the reason I clean them every once in a while. Every once in a while I look at him and go, oh, God.
Yeah, try my beer, Todd. No, I'm okay. But yes, it's nice to get these kinds of questions like what Bruce and what Nathan submitted, because these are things that are, if brewing and enjoying your beer is an all-encompassing experience that is from brew day to the draft, right? Or even the bottling. And I think one common denominator that follows the entire process from pouring your grains into your mash tun to pouring your beer into your glass is hygiene. If you just practice good hygiene, you're going to have a good time. If you don't, you're not. It's going to be a bad day, and you're going to be miserable, and you're going to think that you brew bad beer. And it may not be that you brew bad beer. You're just a poor janitor.
Yeah, sure. Keep your hose clean. That's what I would say. Absolutely.
I have that tattooed on my lower back.
Oh.
No, just tubing. Just a piece of red gas line. What are you talking about? Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I really am very happy y'all are back. I'm going to be up at HQ on Monday. Very much looking forward to drinking more of Todd's beer. I don't know if you noticed when you were gone how much is missing now, my friend, but I had a good time with you away.
Damn it.
But I'm gonna have even more fun when I'm up there. And next week, like I said, we're gonna have a holiday gift guide discussion because it is Thanksgiving, which means huge sales, huge deals going on at kegconnection.com and homebrewsupply.com. So look out for that. So guys, I will see you all on Monday.
Sounds good. And don't forget, everyone, join the Patreon program so Josh will stop bothering you about it.
Whatever. And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Remember that ultimately this show is made possible by people like you. Consider joining our Patreon community by visiting patreon.com/homebrew happy hour to see the cool perks we have for our community. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.
This program is made possible by the checkbook of Mr. Todd Burns, and by contributions to our newly launched Patreon by viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and join our community. Thank you.